Hello YouTubers, another beautiful spring day outside here in Missouri. I found this beautiful piece of pecan wood. See, it has live edge, and I can get probably a couple of nice cutting boards out of this. And I'll tell you what, it's going to be a beautiful board. We're going to put a couple of nice little handles on each end. And then we have a couple of little places that I'm going to fill with epoxy, and we'll run it through the planer again. So let's get started and we'll see what it turns out like. Back here behind the planer now, and you'll see it coming into the planer just in a little bit. I'm going to take the top off of this table saw, and we'll cut that to length. Okay, we're getting ready for an epoxy mix here. When you're getting ready to pour epoxy, you need to start putting your gloves on because you don't want sticky fingers, and I'm telling you that's what'll happen. So go ahead and do it without gloves if you want to, and say I warned you. I decided to cut the wormholes out of it, and that still made a real nice 15-inch board, but it's fairly wide, so that's going to be just about the right size there. And what I want to do is fill any voids with this black epoxy. There's a little detail work here. But anyway, what I do, I have this black Roleo pigment powder. It's a real fine, and it's comes in many colors. But this is going to be very black. I think that's going to be enough. So now I have these little, I call toothbrush cups. I keep them in the bathroom, rinse my mouth out with. They're about the size of a shot glass, but they're very disposable. The reason I'm talking so much now is to kill time while I'm mixing this. Now, that's a small amount. A bigger amount, yeah, I got a paddle mixer and everything, and I usually give that 4 minutes. But to stir here for 4 minutes, my wrist would be worn out. See, this comes in many colors. You can see here, most of it's gold, white. Now, if you want a variety of colors, then buy you a little assortment kit here in small bottles, and lasts a long time. Let's get right into it here. I'm going to pour a little of that epoxy in that little crevice or crack or whatever we got. It'll soak right down in. Getting real messy here, but I have to run it through the planer again anyway. That's going to clean it back up off the wood. But I just make sure that all of this is filled in and is rounded up. That way, when I plane it down, I just take a minimum amount of wood off. That leaves the cutting board as thick as possible. Wherever there's a little spot, we cover it. Okay, now the next day, and you see here, we're gonna put the epoxy over the inlays here, the little checks I had, and I have the epoxy just like I wanted it, raised up over those indentions. And now I want you to see me put it through the planer and see what it looks like. That's going to plane it right down to the bare wood again. So let's lower the camera down here. Somewhere in here you'll see that come out. Let's get it. Now, look at that. Beautiful finish on there. We'll have to do some sanding, of course, but you see what I did. This now is just smooth as can be, and that's where a little check or a hole was. right on this edge. We have just a little bit, but you see at a distance, it's just perfectly smooth. It's just really looking good. And on the other side, I already have that trimmed down flat. It's a fairly thick board. It's about 1 inch thick, and it's going to be a beautiful cutting board. And you can see it's 15 inches long by about 10 inches or so wide, and it has a beautiful live edge on the edge on each side. So let's get with us. We'll sand this off now and drill some holes. We'll figure out what kind of handle we want to put on it. And anyway, come over to the bench. We'll take a look and get it finished up. I'm going to put 120 on this orbital sander. I'm going to go over it with that, and then we're going to go over it with the 220, and then we'll try a 400. Let's try that and see how it works. Now I did say that I was going from 120 to 220, but not quite yet. We don't want it to be the final finish until we get the Lichtenberg cutting done. So we'll see you over in, for the Lichtenberg Burn in just a few seconds. I don't encourage anybody to do this. It's just interesting to watch. I put 1 or 2 spoonfuls of baking soda right there in a pint of water. And that's a mason jar there. There's my spoonfuls. I put 2 of them in there. That's how I measure it, whether it's right or wrong. And I even stir it with whatever's handy. Anybody has anything against that, just let me know in the comments. Sure be welcome, but I don't see anything wrong with it. So I'll just conveniently leave the lid off of that for right now, because I'm going to brush some of that onto my work here just in a second. Now I've painstakingly made an effort to have all of this cutting board that's going to be burnt, fractal burning they call it, and I have the complete board showing here in front of me. Now what I do is make sure all my baking soda is stirred up, which it is. I don't see any of it, and just take a 1 inch paintbrush, and I'm going to paint that, not saturate it. I'm just going to paint it on there just like this, and we're going to find out that that's all it takes. If it's too wet, it won't work, and if it's too dry, it don't work. And that's only done by trial and error, a little bit of experience mixed in. But I coat the whole thing. I don't put any on the sides where I don't want the burn to go. But we're going to look at that and just kind of see. Now, what that does, that will give me time to screw on the lid here, set it aside, my brush, and that can soak in a little bit if I want to while I get my rubber gloves on. And I use Lyman's gloves, standing on a rubber mat. I have a foot pedal also, and he is down here. I got to get it in place because I use that to start the burn. And I'll say probes down and burn on, and I'll say probes up and burn off and probes up. So let's practice that before we ever start. What I'm going to do is place these probes, negative and positives, have my rubber gloves on, and I'm going to put one down here and one here. I'm going to say probes down, power on, and you'll see some action. When I get ready to take it off, never lift these probes off as long as power's on it. So if they power off, probes up, probes down, power on, power off, probes up. It's as simple as that. Now, I'll get my hood on before I do anything. I'll have my breathing apparatus here. There's nothing but the same hood that I carved with, but I got it on for the smoke and that comes off of it. And we also have a vent that we turn on that's going to suck air down this way, and most of the smoke is just going to go right on over and go down through here. So we'll be right back. I'll get that turned on, get the hood on, and we'll get busy. Okay, I think I'm set up now. I have a remote control for the vent hood, which is going to pull the smoke down through here. I have my hood on, and that'll help me keep me from inhaling any of the smoke. But first of all, I'm going to get this. There it goes. It's going to be a little noisy there for a while. And I'll put the gloves on, and I'll put the hood down. Bolts down, power on. Power off, bolts up. Bolts down, power on. Power off, bolts up, bolts down, power on. Power off, bolts up. I'm going to cross that. Gloves down, power on. Power off, gloves up. Power on. Power off. Power on. Power off. Gloves up. Go down further. Gloves down, power on. Power off. Gloves down. What happens now is we stop, take the gloves off. We need more water. It didn't rise up right away. So we're going to put more water on there, or more solution, if you will. That's baking powder and water. And I'm going to paint that surface again, all over. And go all the way up and down again. Drying out way too much. Get that on there. Okay, this is not a how-to, not intending to be a how-to Lichtenberg burn. It's just to watch and take note of if you want to. I don't recommend this for anybody for your own safety. It's up to you if you want to learn how to do it. But I'm not going to teach in any way on how to do this. It's already killed a few people, and I don't want to be responsible for that. You can be safe at things and you can be unsafe at things. This doesn't allow you to be unsafe one time. You don't get a second chance. Okay. Bolt down, power on. There we go. Power off right now. Now there's a nice little tree powder. We're going to go in here. And we'll be further apart. Gloves down, power on. Power off. Gloves up. Power The dark is the hardwood and the light is the softwood. And you see it moves a little different in each one of them. Because the moisture is deeper with the other. So let's stop that one before it touches. We're going to go here and down here. And we're going to say float down, power on. A little action from the center tree. About it. Power off. If you want that to go overboard here. I'm going to go here. Float down. Power on. Touch it. Float down, power on. A lot of action here. We're going to let it hold down a while. We're going to fill this corner up a little. Branched out real nice. And the longer you hold it there, up that glowing red you see, that's burning deeper into the wood. As it burns deeper, that just gives you a context of a throat or river or whatever you want to call it. That's continuing to burn deeper and wider as we speak here. And you can leave it as long as you want, just shut the power off or whatever. Right now is about the time I'm going to say power off. Take a look. Rolls up. Let's go. Yeah, that's pretty good right there. I mean, that's a nice design. You don't want to be too cluttered up. I believe we got it. I'm going to call that good enough. Now just up to the artist and where to stop all this at. But right there looks nice to me. And that's where we're going to stop. Now I take the remote. We'll turn that off. Turn the hood off. May sound a little better now. Hit my range hood. Now we can see that spread out. And you see what that looks like. That's kind of dead along. That could be representing a river or something with small bushes out the side. This could be a river coming down this way. This could also be indicate a river this way. This is just a small tree. Here, maybe here, these independent outliers. And just put what design that you think's appealing to the eye. And there we have it, the complete board. And now I'll go back and do it with some fine sandpaper, and we'll put a finish on it. So let's get over to bench and we'll get on with that. Now I'm going to take a piece of 400 grit sandpaper, put it on my sticky pad here, and a little sponge of rubber pad all the way through. Buy these on eBay, on Amazon, but anyway, they're very handy, fit in your palm real nice. And I'm going to go over that both sides now with 400, and that's after you get the burning done. And you can use up to 220 is what I used on this before, and now I'm going to 400. It's all right to double your number every time. And if you went any slicker than this, I would go to 800. and then 1,000 and so on. But I stop at 400 for these boards. I want to make sure it's nice and clean. And now there you go. And that's ready to finish. I'll turn it over and do the same thing on the back. And then we're going to put some 100%, you'll see when we get back. Okay, as you can see now, I always use a paper tablecloth, which is paper towels. And my finishing kit here for cutting boards is small 1-inch brush, a paper shot glass, and pure 100% tung oil. Mineral oil is also food safe, but that will in time wash out of the wood. This will penetrate the wood and stay in longer, and it reflects that in the price, if I might say. But I put a little bit maybe in the shot glass there to dip my brush in. But also to start with, I just pour some out. You can do that either way. Now you can dip it right out of your shot glass onto your board, and I'll spread that out like this. That'll be enough to cover the whole board. And I'll let it set and soak a while before trying to rub any off at all. And it just makes a beautiful finish that is also food safe. Now, any cutting board can be washed or should be washed just with soap and water. No dishwasher, because the dishwasher, the extremely hot water, and it could cause warpage and all kind of things. So it's best to keep it out of the dishwasher. Now, as I say, got a little I can dip in here. I want to get the edge too, and I'll really soak that edge up by dipping in my little shot glass there. Now what I do, I'll put my first coat on, and then I put the handles on if they're going to have any handles. Sometimes these are routed out here just for handles, but I like tray handles. They're easier to, really you can use them as a serving tray as well as a cutting board. And I'll demonstrate that a little later on, how that works. And one thing about tung oil, it's natural, it's out of the tung tree in Africa. But anyway, get the ends really covered good, because that's going to soak in the ends, in grain even more. Now I'm just going to lay that down. If I put tung oil on the back now, the paper towel is just going to absorb a lot of it, and you wouldn't get the benefit of it. So let's let that just lay on there and soak. A minimum of 4 hours. I know 4 hours is going to be enough. Before putting on the final coats, I'll lay out the holes for my handles, and then I'll come back and I'll do another tung oil thing. That way the tung oil will get down in the holes where the handle goes, the screws. Now let me show you how I put the handles on each end of these. I've got 8 exactly. And I don't measure on the top side, I just measure from the top of the board, which I want a good figure there, is like 8.5 inches. So what I do is lay a popsicle stick right down on there, and I want that 4 1/4 inch, that 8.5. So there is the center. You'll see the reason I do that in a minute. Now I want 1.5 inches back from that popsicle stick. This will keep me from moving that stick. I want 1.5 inches because the handles are 3-inch centers. So I want 1.5 inch back, which will be right there. And then I only want 3/4 inch in. So that's coming in right about there. Now there is where I want the first hole. There's my punch mark. That goes right there. That's my first punch mark, and that's all I have to have. I don't have to lay it out and drill 2 holes, because that's critical, that you get the 3-inch measurement between here is very critical. That's 3 inches exactly. So 1.5 inches is half of that. And that'll put your handle right in the middle. We can throw that away now. We have our punch mark where we want it. And what I took one of these screws that you see here, and I've cut the end off. And let me see where I'm at here. Yeah, focus in on that so you can see it. Come on, we need to focus here. Well, it's about as good as it's going to get. But you see, I cut the end off of it and ground a point on it. And I screw them in my handles right there. Now the punch mark, I'll put that one right there where it belongs. That will automatically center that up exactly. So I'll show you right now. I'll just put that first hole right there on my punch mark. That point is on the 3/4 mark inside there, right about there. So right on 3/4. Now all you have to do, that's where we want our holes, just punch that down just like that. Now I have my punch mark up here, which if the light hits it just right, you can see it. And now I'll drill my hole right there, and this will line up perfect on the underside when I put those screws in. Okay, what we're going to do is drill a 5/32 hole right there on the mark, and we'll have to find our precise marked hole. We don't want any tear out at the bottom, but it won't hurt us because we're going to countersink that with a bigger hole. We're going to drill 4 holes, go 2 on each end, and we'll be all set. Okay, now here I put in a bit that's going to countersink the head of the screw, and I got my stop set to where it just goes just below the surface. And we're going to look at that now with a screw. We'll go in here and we'll make sure that it goes below the surface there. It'll go down and won't stick up past the surface. Okay, now we're back. We have our holes already in there for our handles. We have them countersuck on the back to where the heads will go down below surface so it can slide around on your table. And what we're going to do now is put the handles on. And to do that, we're just going to stick one right up in there like that. And we will put the handle right there. And I'm just going to start it with a standard Phillips screwdriver just to get it started on there, not to tighten it. Now I'll just put that in there and I'll start the other one. Just barely start it. That's it. That's on there. Now I'll turn the other end and I'm going to do the same thing. I'll remove these screws and I'm going to stick it right through the hole there and right down on there, and then we're going to take the Phillips and get it started. Just a few rounds, and then we'll put the other bolt in there and it's going to line up perfect with the hole where it belongs. Okay, there's that one. Now all we do is come over here, and we will I'll take the power drill. You can do that with the screwdriver if you want, but I'll take the power drill, and I want it torqued down to where it will get the proper torque on that, which the proper torque is just where it skips out there. And we'll turn around and do the second end, and we'll get back and take a good look at the board. Okay, let's review our little charcuterie or your cutting board. Here's what it looks like. Right here, now you can serve and sit down on that, or you can use that for a cutting board also. But this makes the legs for your cutting board if you turn it over this way. And I have one thing to add about the care of these cutting boards. Any of the cutting boards that I make will be food safe as food safe can be. I use 100% pure tung oil for finishing these, and you see that makes a nice glossy surface, and you can kind of feel it feels like silk across the top of it. But they're not dishwasher safe. Now, while they are food safe, they're not dishwasher safe. So don't put them in a dishwasher, but you can wash them with hot soapy water, whatever you want to do. Keep them clean and nice. That's about all there is to it. And have one more thing to say now, is hit that subscribe button, give me a thumbs up if you liked it. Also, I'll see you in the next video.